That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Alright guys, before we get into the video, if you did not see our last upload, we are creating a second fantasy football channel. Y'all know I made this channel originally for the first 2 years of this channel. It was a dynasty fantasy football channel. That is my pure passion. I mean, that is what I am very, very good at. And honestly, that's why I'm good at redraft, just because we go through and we follow the NFL 365 days a year. We scout these players coming from college to the NFL level. We kind of follow free agency. We follow training camps to see how depth charts are getting shaken out. So guys, if y'all are a fan of Dynasty Fantasy Football, maybe you play in a keeper league, maybe you want to get involved in either one of those two formats, I promise you right now, Dynasty Fantasy Football is by far and away the best way you can play fantasy football. Make sure you go down to the description of the video or in the comments and you'll find the link for our second channel. On that channel, I'm only going to be uploading Dynasty Fantasy Football videos just because so many people came in here and y'all kind of took this channel over as a redraft channel because we had 2,000 subscribers for the first 2 years where we were just making a Dynasty Fantasy Football channel every single day. And now redraft season kicked off in 2020 and y'all skyrocketed us to, I mean, we're going to pass 20,000 any day now. So I think that it would kind of be ignorant and just kind of reckless for me to kind of flood y'all with Dynasty Fantasy Football content this offseason on this channel when I know a lot of y'all don't play that. A lot of y'all don't have interest in playing that. But if you do, I'll still be uploading a video every single day on the Dynasty vlog. That channel should be down below. Okay, but now let's get to this video and let's talk about 5 wide receivers that I think we need to be going out and selling high coming into week 8. And there's no better player to start it off with than Mike Evans. Okay, so y'all know with Mike Evans, this is actually our 3rd week in a row of making him one of our sell high wide receivers. We knew that this was the picture perfect guy that we needed to trade away from our rosters with Chris Godwin coming back 2 weeks ago because we evaluated Mike Evans in a vacuum in this role that he had on this Tom Brady-led offense as a wide receiver that, yes, may be extremely talented, but going into that week where Chris Godwin was coming back, Mike Evans had only seen 11% of his team's targets during those performances with Chris Godwin on the field. And now the past 2 weeks, obviously, Chris Godwin has completely evaporated Mike Evans and his role. But guys, I didn't think we were going to be able to include Mike Evans on this list. But since then, we actually saw Chris Godwin go down. He had surgery on a finger, and now he's probably going to be out, I would say, about 2 to 3 weeks. Definitely out this week, possibly next week as well. And I am going to use this opportunity as another chance to go and sell Mike Evans. And yes, I'll tell you right now, guys, Mike Evans is going to make our must-start wide receiver video this week. And that's why I think you are going to be able to go and sell him for the long term and get a profit just because of his next 2 to 3 week projection. We have to understand that, yes, he may have a great matchup now. On top of that, he's going to be getting a ton of targets, but this is not a wide receiver that we can feel confident having a high target share once Antonio Brown and Chris Godwin are back in this offense. And I will say, guys, I've gotten a ton of questions about Chris Godwin lately, asking about him being injury prone. And I'll say, if y'all remember this wide receiver coming out of Penn State in 2017, this was never a guy that we worried about injuries with, as well as the early part of his NFL career. It's not like he's been in Alshon Jeffrey continuing to deal with hamstring strains or yada, yada, yada. No, it has only been a 2020 problem. And what that tells me is it's more of a small sample and just randomness type thing than anything. Trust me, if y'all been a listener of the flock for a while, you know I would love to come out here and say anything bad that I can against Chris Godwin, but no, we can't. I think these injuries are just randomness, and I think we're going to see Chris Godwin come back, have no problem getting targets in this offense. And what's honestly very bearish about Mike Evans and his projected opportunity going forward is not only is he seeing a current single-digit target share in games that Chris Godwin's healthy, but on top of that, Antonio Brown's actually going to be playing on the outside for this offense where Mike Evans currently is. I think Chris Godwin is honestly probably safe in the slot. So with Mike Evans, guys, please, I understand he's going to have a great week this week, and I think that you sell him at that high-end wide receiver 2 price, knowing that he's going to have that great week this week, but in the long term, you're going to be making a profitable decision. The only way I would not be willing to trade away Mike Evans off of my roster is if I'm currently like 2-5 or 1-6, and I desperately need a win now, and we're not looking at production down the road, then I'm fine. We're just going to play this game week to week, and we're going to keep Mike Evans. But if you're a 6-1 or a 5-2 playoff team, guys, I highly advise seeing what type of value you can get for him currently. Now, our next wide receiver, he won me a ton of matchups this week. Still, I have to include him in this list because we are looking at his overall team situation, and we don't necessarily think he's going to be able to see the amount of targets every single week that he saw this past week, and this is Juju Smith-Schuster. So y'all know Juju Smith-Schuster was my highest owned player coming into this season. You can go back, find a ton of tweets from me just saying that Juju was the most undervalued player in fantasy football drafts this year. Clearly, I look horribly wrong with those statements. I already quote tweeted them on Twitter saying, hey, look how stupid this guy is. Clearly doesn't know what he's talking about. And I think the problem with Juju is just Diontae Johnson is going to continue to be the #1 target for Ben Roethlisberger on this offense. And we have to look at Chase Claypool as well. And Chase Claypool is going to eventually be able to command more targets on this offense than he did against Malcolm Butler this past week. I think that really we saw him have those snaps locked in. We've seen him be extremely efficient so far, at least in weeks 5 and 6. So I think Chase Claypool is going to come back in week 8. He still had a full role on this offense. He was just being a little bit more used as the decoy type wide receiver. And with Juju Smith-Schuster, if you can capitalize on that name value that he has, as well as coming off a very strong week, that is something that I would look to do, even though it really hurts me to say. I just don't necessarily see how he's going to be able to get the consistent target share with Diontae Johnson and Chase Claypool both in this offense, and to add on the fact that this offense does have a great running back in James Conner. They do have a decent tight end for the red zone in Eric Ebron. I'm just looking at Juju Smith-Schuster, thinking that he has a capped target ceiling, and as well, he has a capped touchdown equity in this offense because they have so many solid red zone weapons. Okay, now our next wide receiver, another guy that I was extremely high on coming into this year, and this is going to be DJ Moore. So with DJ Moore, guys, y'all understand that I loved him coming in looking like he was going to be that year 3, just absolute breakout guy in this offense. In the past 2 weeks, he has shown us that he does have that talent. But there are a couple things going against DJ Moore and his projections going forward. One is just the overall usage that he's getting in this offense. Currently, he's being used as that deep threat weapon for the Carolina Panthers. Not something we wanted to see. We wanted to see DJ Moore running more crossing routes. We wanted to see him getting more targets closer to the line of scrimmage. That way that catch rate would be up. That way those targets would be consistent week to week. But no, he's really kind of operating as a Christian Kirk. He's operating as a Michael Gallup. And yes, because he's so damn talented, he's going to have those spike weeks where you could plug in DJ Moore to your starting lineup and expect a wide receiver 1 production. But I think at the same time, this is a wide receiver that is definitely going to have those duds, especially with Christian McCaffrey coming back into this offense. I think that McCaffrey ends up actually hurting DJ Moore, as McCaffrey is going to see a higher target share than Mike Davis did in this offense. So with Moore, he's been extremely productive the past few weeks, over 4 or 5 targets. I don't see his routes changing anytime soon though, so I think we're going to see these targets just remain the same, and the efficiency with these targets would not be able to maintain, because if they did, I mean, DJ Moore would just probably be the best wide receiver of all time, and I think that's a very unlikely bet we can make. Okay, let's go right back to Pittsburgh, and I know y'all are probably going to be very annoyed that I just told y'all to sell Juju Smith-Schuster, and now I'm telling you the same thing with Diontae Johnson. And guys, I just think that this is the best time we can get out on these 2 wide receivers, because this past week we saw Chase Claypool get not even 0 yards. He got -2 yards in this offense, and obviously we know that this is a wide receiver that has the talent. The only questions about Chase Claypool coming into the year were how polished was he? Was he going to be able to make an impact in year one? I personally said no. I said this was a wide receiver for dynasty leagues that I loved in 2021, knowing that Juju Smith-Schuster is a free agent at the end of the year. Still, I don't think that after they let out Chase Claypool, showing everybody what he is capable of, that they can put him back in, that they can't use him as a high target player week to week. So still, guys, with Diontae Johnson, I expect him to be the #1 wide receiver target on this Pittsburgh Steelers offense. But currently, during the live streams, a lot of y'all are evaluating him as a high-end wide receiver too. If I could trade a Diontae Johnson for a Terry McLaurin, while Terry McLaurin would be in a much worse offense in Washington, still, he's going to be seeing those consistent targets every single week. He's going to have that target share up near 30%. With Diontae Johnson and Juju Smith-Schuster, I just don't see how that's possible, knowing that Chase Claypool is going to be able to emerge. On top of that, knowing that Eric Ebron can get targets in the red zone and he can lower the touchdown equity for these other players. Personally, I am just looking to sell high on both Juju and Diontae Johnson after a week where Chase Claypool did absolutely nothing, because Chase Claypool is going to come back and he's going to get targets in this offense. Okay, now our next wide receiver, another guy, guys. I liked a lot of these players coming into this year. I liked Juju, I liked DJ Moore, and I like Christian Kirk. And they're all performing lately, but I just don't think we can buy into it. We have to understand that we cannot be biased in our evaluations. We have to look at how these wide receivers are running their routes, what roles they have on their own offenses, and then try to determine how we can project them going forward. And with Christian Kirk, the reason that we liked him coming into this season is, one, we loved Kyler Murray. Two, we were not sold on DeAndre Hopkins being a 30% team target share type player. Three, we did not necessarily think that Larry Fitzgerald was going to have a role on this offense, but we were wrong, okay? DeAndre Hopkins is that locked-in alpha. He's being used just as he was in Houston, in Arizona, where we know he's going to be that #1 target each and every week, soaking up so much volume in that offense. Two, we actually see Larry Fitzgerald, for whatever reason, it does not matter how inefficient that he has been in the past 2 seasons, he has an every down player as this team's slot wide receiver. That's the role that we wanted to see Christian Kirk in, and we wanted to see Andy Isabella on the outside stretching the field, yet instead, week over week over week, we are seeing Christian Kirk stretch the field on the outside. We're seeing Larry Fitzgerald still get those slot snaps. And really, until that changes, I think that we are going to be trying to sell high on Christian Kirk. Coming off back-to-back performances where he saw 2 touchdowns, I think this is the perfect opportunity because, yes, he did see a season high in targets this past week, but it was mainly due to the matchup against the Seattle Seahawks. So personally, while I love him, while I have him on a ton of rosters, I am going to be trying to sell high on Christian Kirk. Okay, but thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. As always, if y'all did, please make sure you go down there, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and I will be live streaming tonight after the game. I hope to see you there.